Have you ever felt so unseen in your own marriage that the silence between you starts to scream louder than love itself? My name is Rachel, and what I'm about to share still feels unreal to me. I never thought that the quietest soul in my home, the one who couldn't even speak, would be the one to remind me what love and connection truly mean. For years, my life moved in a loop that never seemed to change. Every morning began the same way. The alarm's sharp ring, the familiar routine, and those empty automatic smiles. My husband Daniel would hurry through the kitchen, already dressed in his crisp work clothes, eyes glued to his phone, his mind somewhere far away before he even stepped out the door. I used to convince myself that this was what commitment looked like. Responsibility, dedication, structure. But somewhere in that rhythm, we lost sight of each other. Our words turned mechanical. Good morning. Don't forget your lunch. Drive safe. Those exchanges used to mean something, but now they were just habits. Echoes of what we used to be. I told myself this was normal, that love simply faded like old paint over time. But deep down, a quiet ache started to grow. A longing for warmth, for tenderness, for that electric spark that once made my heart race. And then there was Charlie, our golden retriever. Daniel brought him home 5 years ago, saying, "A dog will bring some life into this house." I hadn't thought much of it then. Charlie was sweet, a little clumsy, and full of boundless energy. But as the months turned into years, he became more than just the background hum of our home. He was always there, waiting, watching, listening. One morning after Daniel had left for work, I sat in the kitchen staring at my untouched coffee. The silence in the house felt heavier than usual, pressing against my chest. I didn't even realize tears had begun to fill my eyes until I felt a gentle nudge against my leg. I looked down, and there he was, Charlie. He wasn't barking. He wasn't jumping. He just looked at me, his eyes calm, patient, and filled with something I couldn't quite name. That gaze broke something open inside me. I reached down, letting my fingers sink into his soft fur, and in that simple touch, I felt a warmth I hadn't known in years. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't strange. It was pure, unconditional presence. Something Daniel hadn't offered in a very long time. Days turned into weeks, and my bond with Charlie grew deeper. Every morning after Daniel left, Charlie would follow me from room to room, his gentle footsteps echoing softly like a reassuring shadow. When I cried quietly at night, thinking no one could hear, he'd be there, sitting just outside my door, silent, steady, understanding. I didn't have to explain myself. Somehow, he already knew. One afternoon, I decided to take him for a walk. The sun was warm, the air carried that sweet calm of early evening, and for the first time in a long while, I simply breathed. Charlie trotted beside me, his tail wagging, glancing up now and then as if making sure I was still there. That walk, simple, ordinary, shifted something inside me. For the first time in years, I felt alive. Not because of him, but because he reminded me what it felt like to be seen. I began talking to him during our walks. At first, it felt ridiculous. I laughed under my breath and said, "You're just a dog, Charlie." But the more I spoke, the lighter I felt. I told him everything about the loneliness, the distance, how invisible I'd become. He never said a word, but his eyes told me everything I needed to hear. Soon, those walks became the part of my day I looked forward to the most. Every morning, as Daniel left for work, I'd wait, leash in hand, eager to step into that quiet world where I could finally breathe again. But not everything went unnoticed. One evening at dinner, Daniel set down his fork and looked at me. For the first time in months, Daniel really looked at me. "Rachel," he said, his tone uncertain, "why do you spend so much time with that dog?" I froze. The question wasn't cruel, but there was something in his voice I hadn't heard in a long time. Confusion, maybe even jealousy. "He makes me feel peaceful," I said softly. "That's all." Daniel gave a faint smile, though it never reached his eyes. "He's a dog, Rachel, not a person." "I know," I replied, my voice trembling just slightly. "But sometimes he listens better than people do." The silence that followed cut deeper than any argument we'd ever had. It hung in the air between us, cold and heavy, saying everything we couldn't. In the weeks that followed, the distance between us grew wider. Daniel started staying longer at work, and I stopped waiting up for him. Our house turned into a polite, quiet space, more like a shared shelter than a home. And every time that emptiness threatened to swallow me, Charlie was there, my quiet witness, my steady comfort. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late. Rain tapped gently against the window as I sat on the edge of our bed, feeling more alone than I had in years. I didn't hear Daniel come home, and truthfully, I didn't care. The tears came quietly, slipping through my fingers as I whispered to the empty room, I can't keep living like this. Then I heard the soft sound of paws on the floor. The door creaked open, and Charlie stepped in, his eyes full of quiet concern. He walked closer and rested his head on my knee. I buried my face in his fur and sobbed, deep, unguarded, aching tears I hadn't let myself shed in years. It wasn't love, at least not in the way people might think. It was understanding, the kind of deep, wordless connection that reminds you you're still human, still capable of feeling, even when the world seems to have forgotten you.